Welcome to Let's Talk Common Sense, this amazing, fun episode with me, Mike Omoniyi. Now, before we get straight into things, let me just go through some headlines for you. Asda are stopping the sale of single knives over knife crime concern. Some MP says this is, a welcome change, and supermarkets, some have said, are doing more to prevent crime than the police themselves. Some US news about Jussie Smollett, a small update. He could be facing up to 48 years in prison. I don't think he's actually going to do that. I think that the Chicago Police Department are pressing, 16 felony charges at him. He may beat them all, but we're going to have a discussion about LGBT causes and whether Jussie Smollett has kind of set the movement back such that now we may find it harder to believe LGBTQ plus victims. An update on Shamima Begum. Her baby has died of pneumonia, and some are blaming Sajid Javid. They're saying he is to be blamed for this. And I'm actually joined by somebody who echoed or didn't like Sajid Javid, so I'm going to get her thoughts on what she thinks about that. Brexit is only a couple of weeks away and we still have no deal, so we're going to talk about that as well. But before anything, I want to just give my thoughts and talk common sense regarding R. Kelly and Michael Jackson. You may have seen this week R. Kelly had an interview with Gayle King, where there's this infamous image of her sat down looking as cool as a cucumber whilst he gyrated like a crazy man, like an Old Testament prophet at her. And away from this, what's happening is if you've been living under a rock, R. Kelly is finally being tried for lots of cases of having sex or sexual intercourse or sexual relations with underage girls. And there's all tons of people kind of making these accusations about him. And in the interview though with CBS this morning, there was also two young ladies, I think, who were also interviewed. And they basically said he's a great guy and they have a mutual relationship with him. But what I want to talk about really is about a debate that's been going on online. This kind of mute R. Kelly, but also with Michael Jackson, who equally people have come out talking about. People have been saying we've got to get rid of their music, right? Which is what bugs me a little bit. Because why is it that when it comes to black figures, when there is a speck, right, in their past, we move to silence them. But when you have their white counterparts, right, which equally may be public figures, when they do things that are wrong, it's okay, it's just a little problem with their character. In every single situation, it seems very easy for us to remove the art from the artist, right? And let's take it away from music. If you can sing the national anthem in this country, a national anthem that was once emblematic of empire and unwelcome pillaging of resources from countries in Africa. If you can sing that national anthem now and say, God save her, then how come you can't sing Billie Jean? Because if you can remove all of Britain's crimes and recognize the national anthem as something that's changed, then why can't you do the same with Michael Jackson? If you can sing the American national anthem, which is even worse, then how come you can't sing I Believe I Can Fly by R. Kelly? I think we have to learn to separate the art from the artist. If you have a bread in a loaf, put it that way. If you have sliced loaf, right, sliced bread loaf, I'm not making sense. If you have a sliced bread loaf, right, and one loaf is bad, you chuck it in the bin. You don't chuck the whole thing in the bin. And I just think we lack some perspective on this. It goes to a bigger issue where we don't interpret musicians or artists within their time. We take them out their time and we try to subject them to, the current kind of way of doing things. And I don't think that's helpful. If he did something wrong, he should go to jail. But his art is different from himself. And we're just going to get that out there. Otherwise, we can't sing any song by anybody because there's a lot of people. Lauryn Hill hasn't paid tax for a while. Should we get rid of her music? I mean, she broke the law. Oh no, ladies still out there singing X Factor. Right. Before I carry on, I'm joined in the studio by Afshan. You know her, she's the editor-in-chief of the TCS Network. Afshan, what do you think about this?
Okay, hold on. Lauryn Hill not paying her taxes is nowhere near equivalent to what R. Kelly and Michael Jackson have done.
But she broke the law.
No. But one is about breaking the law, and one is about being morally wrong.
Who decides?
And morally bad.
Hold on. Is it morally bad that they're illegal or that they're young?
That they're young.
Well, it's
sexual harassment. It's sexual abuse.
If they're under the age, I agree with you. But the two girls that were interviewed by Girl King, they said that we are in a consensual relationship with him and we love him.
That is 2 out of how many girls?
No, but the ones that are underage, I buy it. If they're underage, it's illegal. But you can't say there's anything wrong with a 52-year-old man that falls in love with 18-year-old girls. What's wrong with that?
Oh, come on.
No, why is that wrong? It's
but
it's morally
wrong. Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's wrong. There's a power dynamic in there that needs to be
please, listen, it's way too late to get this. You're telling me that. But are you a believer that people can only love each other if they have equal power?
Yeah. I think that's...
I'm going to give you a chance to walk that back.
Hold on, give me a minute. Give me a minute. I wish this was live because then I'd be able to ask people to help you out, right? No, because, okay, so... I think that power dynamics within a relationship are very interesting. And I think that if there's a power dynamic where you've got a teacher and a student, or you've got, I don't know, someone who owns a company and an employee. Sorry, someone who owns a company and an employee, or, someone who's 54 and 18. There's power dynamics within that relationship that needs to be unpacked.
Love.
Oh, come on, it's not love.
No, but who gets to decide
52-year-olds and 18-year-olds.
You can't. I think you're being very ageist here.
I'm not being ageist.
You're saying that he can't be in love.
Dynamics.
You're saying that he can't be in love because he has more power.
I think he'd be in lust, and I think he might. I think lust is underrated, but I think he can be in lust with them. But I also think that it'd be silly for us to call it love and to just kind of leave it alone and not pack it.
It has nothing to do with us. There are two consensual adults who are in love, and we're saying, I don't think it's love. It's not our business. If it's against the law, I buy it. If it's against the law, it's wrong. But if they're over the age of 18 in America, we don't get to decide whether they actually love each other or not. We don't know what they do in bed, what they do outside of bed, what they do on dates. We have no clue about it. So my point is, why can't we, to go back to the question, why can't we separate the art from the artist? Will you be deleting R. Kelly's music?
I actually agree with you to a certain extent that we demonize.
Newsflash: Afshan the Sosa Lodi agrees with Mike Omoniyi. Bring out
in this one instance, only because really, actually, you surprised me because I didn't think that you'd pick up on. This is going to sound so patronizing.
Oh, please, I love being patronized.
I didn't think that you were going to draw. I think that you pick up on the fact that white artists are allowed to make mistakes, and we still listen to their art and watch their films, whereas a black artist we don't. Because that's exactly the point I was going to make, and then you made it.
Yeah.
I actually actively don't. I try not to listen to music or engage with art or buy art, particularly from artists that I know are known abusers. So, for example, Johnny Depp, I will try my hardest not to watch any of his films or give money to him for that reason. When it comes to people like R. Kelly and Michael Jackson, I love Michael Jackson's music. I mean, I didn't know that R. Kelly sang I Believe I Can Fly, and that's my probably, wow, okay.
You gonna stop listening to that now?
I mean, I don't know, but it will sully the experience of it. When I listen to the song, when I listen to music by Michael Jackson, after, I read more into what he's done, it sullies the art for me because I experience the art with the artist. I understand.
No, you don't.
I do, though, because it's coming from that person's perspective.
Yeah, but when you sing Billie Jean, you interpret it as what it means to you. That's the best thing about music, is the best thing about art, right? This is why I used to it used to bug me in schools when they say, what do you think Shakespeare means by this? Well, isn't the point of art that I don't have to think about what Shakespeare means? I can interpret it for myself. And with most pieces of art, when people look at it and they gaze at it, they're not there trying to decipher or decode what the artist meant. They are trying to enjoy the art from their own perspective or gaze. So to that end, when you're listening to music by these artists, whether it's R. Kelly or whatever, why are you thinking about what they're doing in bed? Why are you thinking about their relationships? You are meant to be enjoying the music.
I'm not thinking about what they're...
Most people are flawed. Again, Lauryn Hill doesn't pay tax. I still love her songs.
Okay, but hold on. But, if she was making music about, being the perfect citizen, engaging with, oh my God, I don't know, like, paying her taxes, and then it came out in the media that she wasn't paying tax. When I listened to that song, I'd be like, hold on a minute. What's this talking about?
If you're in a club and it comes on, you go, hold on, guys, she doesn't pay her tax. Turn it off.
Well, I don't go to clubs, so I wouldn't.
How very mature of you. Good. Know. Yes, of course you wouldn't know. Well, we could talk about this all day, of course. In fact, before we go, you said you like Michael Jackson. Let's move on. Let's move on straight to the other headlines, because there's quite a lot of headlines to discuss this week.
Yeah.
It does bug me, that whole R. Kelly thing, because again, it's just the whole lack of nuance thing online. People just cancel him. Really, someone said, I think I said it the other day when they said, oh, Liam Neeson is problematic. Someone said burn these CDs. One, you can't burn Netflix. It's online. It's in the cloud. But then two, no, that's just it's just no. Anyways, let's get your thoughts on something that's dear to my heart that I've been speaking about. Spoke about on TV, I spoke about on radio for a bit. It's about knife crime.
Yeah.
And as they're basically stopping the sale of single knives, and now you have to buy a kitchen set to basically get a knife. So chances are they hope that will deter some young people from actually purchasing these kind of objects. What do you think that's a good step forward?
I can't say, actually. I don't know. What I can say is that stop selling single knives means that people that need to buy single knives won't actually be able to buy them. You have to buy a full kitchen set, which is difficult because it's expensive. It's money. So, who is that targeting again? And I think that people will find knives, people find guns everywhere. Just because we can't buy them from the supermarket stores is not going to deter people from using them. What is going to deter people from using them is actually looking at the causes of knife crime, going down into the communities and working out, where the problems are. What is the bottom line? Is it because of poverty? Is it because of schooling? Is it because of a lack of community centres and shutting down of libraries and centres where young people, particularly young men, can actually go and hang out in safe spaces without having a fear of, talking about land ownership or, ends? It's
funny because on LBC, I did hear a girl driving to the gym, was it? And I didn't go to the gym this week, actually. I've really felt my Apple Watch buzzes every day like, you're not in the gym, Mike. But I think driving somewhere, I remember hearing a woman calling and she was really angry, and I was like, oh God, she's really, but when I considered what she was angry at was the fact that now she can't buy a single knife anymore. And I was like, well, hold on, love, how many times are you buying a single knife? Surely you buy it when you move to a new house. It's not that frequent.
If you're a student and you need to buy knives, you're not going to go and buy a full knife.
It's hardly the biggest inconvenience ever. And bear in mind, this is not a worldwide ban. This is just Asda banning it. There's other shops that sell knives.
There's other ways around it. It just feels like it's a non-move.
No, well, here's the thing. I think one of the good things it does is it sets an example, because now private companies and entities are thinking about the community. Because before we would simply think it's all about profit. No, but it is.
This is not about the community. It is about profit.
So why is about profit? Why do you think they're cutting a sale of an item that sells well?
Okay, but it sells well, but what are the profit margins on a single knife versus a knife set? Okay, you're buying 5 knife sets. It's not going to be 1 times 5. It's going to be like 110.
Anything to do with the community?
I think it has very little to do with the community. I think it's more of a show of look, we're trying to do something important and interesting because we care about people's lives.
Fair enough, but I don't know. Maybe that's just. I think that's a cynical take to this.
But it's a supermarket. What do you expect? They're going to be doing stuff for money. They're not going to be doing stuff for the sake of.
That's not true. That's an assumption. The assumption that companies don't care about.
If they were losing money, by stopping the sale of single knives, then I'd be like, oh, okay.
Well, you don't know if they're not. But
I don't know. It's a recent thing, so
but I can't.
I assume that they.
But this is the problem, is when we just assume that businesses are bad by virtue of being businesses.
It's more that the history of, is it Asda?
What's Asda's history? I want to know this. Tell me about Asda's history.
Talk to me about the activism. Talk to me about the money that they make and the consumer social responsibility.
You tell me.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Where is it going? Where is the CSR money going? It's not. What they could do is actually open up an Asda library, an Asda funded library or a community centre in the areas that are, quote unquote, supposedly full of knife crime with young people, and engage with those instead. They could fund those places and actually, stock them with fruit and, and juice and food, and then it would be like, okay, this is a place young people can go, and then I'd be like, oh, Asda's doing something interesting, Asda's doing something for the community.
I happen to take I understand where you're coming from, but I think my opinion is just that, hey, it's something, they're doing something, and quite frankly, this is what we elect governments for. And I think one thing that's kind of come out in the whole kind of knife crime debate, which, by the way, as you know, is not a new thing. It's just something that's been happening for a while. In fact, I was on 5 Live about 3 days ago, and I think I may have annoyed Adrian Charles a little bit when he said, "Hey, Mike, what do you think about knife crime?" And I said, "It's funny how we're talking about it because a small white girl got stabbed." And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, yeah, I mean, listen, a lot of people have died. And he said something quite interesting. He said that, yeah, but this is newsworthy. He said that because it's not, you don't really hear it happening from a white girl, so it's newsworthy. And I said that, no, I don't think he meant that, like, no, maliciously. He was just saying that it's shocking, hence why the newspapers ran with it, because you don't hear it.
But that's my point, that it's shocking that it's a white girl that died.
But my point to him, and what I said to him was, it shouldn't be shocking. A media that generally cares about its demos that it's serving should be horrified by the loss of any life. The idea that we've lost so many black lives, it's now the norm to hear about black Jaden getting stabbed. That's a problem. Yeah. And I guess ultimately how we solve it, I'm not convinced, and I know no one's convinced that there's a one-size-fits-all policy. There's a cacophony of different things that need to be done to solve this problem. But one thing that I'm absolutely certain about is youth clubs. Now, I know people might be like, where does that come from? We need police numbers. We need stop and search.
No.
Youth clubs are really important in local communities. And I know that they seem a bit useless simply because on a metrics level, it's really hard to kind of assess how efficient a youth club is. You can't really give any numbers back. How many people come? Yeah, that's a nice number, but it's a soft number in stats. It's not really interesting. What they want to know is how many people reoffend after coming. How many? And it's hard to prove stats. Same as the arts, which you're obviously well versed in. It's hard to kind of say what the arts achieve, other than we know that they really help people channel frustration, anger. It's somewhere to go, somewhere to feel safe. You can go play table tennis, which is why I used to always go to mine. They're so good. But in some boroughs in London, they've had youth cuts to upwards of 80%.
Yeah.
And they replace youth clubs and youth centres with NCS, National Citizens Challenge. 2 weeks in Wales, doing team building, which apparently is going to change your life. Do you think 2 weeks in Wales would change your life, Afshan?
I think it would change my life, especially if Liam Neeson's around. But I don't know. I think there's...
You've been sitting on that one for weeks.
For so long. I was waiting for somebody to ask me. I don't know. I feel like... I agree. I think that we can't always see the benefit of youth clubs and libraries and centres like that. But what we can see is once they're taken out, once they're shut down, there is a disadvantage to young people, and you can almost see that in terms of like education levels and school attendance, and even in terms of like the community engagement with various activities. So though we might not be able to see a youth club and then see the positive impact of that way, we can definitely see the negative impact that's had once we shut them down. I don't believe that 2 weeks, just 2 weeks. I think it's about a consistent level of engagement. I think that's what youth centres and libraries provide. And I think that's what's needed is stability with young people's lives. Our world is chaotic. We don't know what we're doing right now in terms of like the EU even. Our lives are so chaotic that we need that stability, and sometimes the families that we come from are not stable, and those leisure centres provide that. They provide a support network, a structure, a way and a place that you can find friends and essentially stay off the streets. There's art programs that I've worked with in organizations that essentially help young people to with poetry, for example, to use art as a form of therapy, to perform and to engage with a slightly different way of living, and the benefits are incredible. People that are coming from backgrounds that are crime backgrounds or whatever are kind of moving into a different sphere of life and a different way of living.
I mean it's difficult because even me, I didn't know I needed a youth club until way after. So I didn't recognize the impact of a youth club in my life until much later. Only now am I going, oh God, I really enjoyed that time, and I see how it prevented me from doing certain things. But during the time, I didn't value it. So the young people don't value it. The funders don't value it. No one values it. So it's always the first thing to go, right? But it's interesting because one thing I'm getting frustrated about also is, black people being invited to a shouting match with Piers Morgan or online, just to kind of, just so news networks can tick off, we had a knife crime chat. And I guess right now we're talking about real lives here. We're talking about real families, real devastation. So ultimately, I just want things to change, quite frankly. And I guess one thing that's changed in some people's mind, anyways, is the propensity that gay people would be believed when they're attacked because of Jussie Smollett. Now that is a wonderful segue for those of you who are looking for something. If you're looking for a comment, you're like, I've listened to this podcast, but I've never found a reason to comment. That's your cue. So great segue, Mike. But what do you think about this? About Jussie Smollett facing all these, or potentially facing all these years in prison, and away from kind of whether it's right or wrong, because we know that he was lying. That's clear. You still don't think he's lying?
I don't know. I'm still waiting for the rest of the story to come out. But okay, let's go with let's for the sake of this podcast, let's say that he was lying.
Do you think he set the movement back?
Okay, I have this conversation an awful lot, and I've been having it an awful lot. More recently, actually, about where we air our dirty laundry.
When you say our,
so let me just give me a moment, Michael.
I ain't putting my dirty laundry out.
I work with a poetry collective called The Universe, and we're set up as a South Asian women's collective. And essentially, we want to talk about the sexism and misogyny in our communities, but we're unable to do so because the only places we really get to perform are white spaces. And what happens is that when we talk about the misogyny and we talk about the sexism from our men, we're throwing our men under the buses. And what happens is that the white people in the communities will use that to fuel their racism. Now, if we use that same analogy with Jussie Smollett, there has been, or, I've sort of seen little smidgens of people kind of saying, well, we should be supporting him. We can't be talking about him in this way, because actually what you're doing is by dissing one person, by a black gay man, you're allowing people to use that as fuel for homophobic or racist comments, essentially. So on that level, I understand it, but I still think that the online Twitter debate forum has allowed for nuanced discussions and conversation. If we don't talk about it and we don't air our dirty laundry as such, then we're never going to get anywhere. We're never going to reach progress. We're going to be stuck in this space where we only talk about our problems within ourselves, and or to our friends, and nobody else knows that the problems exist.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said that, because that's a measured response, Afshan.
Thank you.
I'm going to pay you a compliment back.
Oh my God, can we just record this moment?
I think that's the tea I gave you. It's clearly, it's been spiked.
What's in it?
What's that thing that what's his name? Bill Cosby used to put in drinks.
A date rape drug?
No.
I'm sorry, what?
No, what's that drink?
It took a turn. We went from R. Kelly to...
What's that thing used to drop? What was it called? There was a name for it, and apparently everyone used it back in those times.
Ketamine?
No, it wasn't ketamine. It was like a drug that makes people drowsy or something. I forgot the name, but the name's interesting. That's why I went to say it. But anyways, there's nothing in the drink. Then. I will, in case this is played back when I'm like 30 and they're like, Michael, put something in Afshan's. No, nothing's in her drink. She saw me make it. It's just...
I actually didn't see you make it.
There we go.
I actually didn't see you make it. I have no idea what's in this drink.
But I'll tell you what, you've been drinking this. Clearly you like what's in it.
My God.
Whatever is in it, right? But here's what's really interesting about the whole Jussie Smollett issue. So I watched the Grapevine, which is this kind of interesting, I guess, chat show, if you like. It's very, very left. I mean, very, very left. So I use that kind of just to say that it was a bit of a talking shop. But what they were speaking about was kind of similar to what you said, was that, America's ridiculously homophobic, and the fact that people kind of second guess his story was wrong, which one I disagree with. I think innocent till proven guilty is something we have to maintain. So when someone says X, Y, and Z attacked me, rather than going, they did it, they're Trump supporters, they must have done it, we must say, hold on, let's let him prove that they did it. If you want to see how it works differently, go to like third world countries where literally if the government says something against you, you're dying, irrespective of a trial or not, right? So that's one. And then two was this notion that, even if he lied, I'm still on his side. I was like, hold on. One, there are no sides here. He faked his own attack There's no other sides to this. Here's just a confused man who unfortunately felt that the only way he could get higher salary or more notoriety, whatever you want to call it, was to fake his attack. But the idea that people will say, I'm still going to side with him, even though he's displaying behaviors of clearly some sort of brokenness in some sort of, that's really scary.
It's because this notion of representation, the burden of representation that people of color and marginalized people hold. So as a black gay man, he is representative of all black gay men. Right?
Yeah.
Anything that he does
against his will, probably
against his will. He might not want it. Even if he does want it, the point is that he has that burden of representation. Anything he does or doesn't do is reflective on all black gay men. So him being, in the same way that R. Kelly, for example, we're trying to.
He's not representative of black men.
Hold on. No, but this is my point though. Hold on. So it's interesting that you used two examples, Michael Jackson and R. Kelly earlier on, and they're both black men.
Michael Jackson.
Hold on, no, he's still a black man. However much he tried to get rid of that representation, he still has that. He still is. They're two black men.
Sorry, when Michael Jackson started doing, he stopped being black. I'm joking. Do carry on.
Wow. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Mike Omoniyi displaying. I think I'm
a little more unhinged today. I don't know why.
What have you had your in hot chocolate?
I think you put something in my drink.
The same stuff you put in my tea, actually.
I think I put a stronger measure in mine because clearly I'm a bit unhinged. But you carry on.
Sorry, what I was saying is that the same way that we understand the nuances that race has played with when we talk about R. Kelly and Michael Jackson compared to when we talk about Johnny Depp, right? We understand the differences. We understand cancel culture in that sense. We should be applying the same to Jussie Smollett. So we can on one level say he's a terrible person for doing what he's done, but what are the reasons behind that? We can sit down and have a measured conversation about him, and then look at white men that have done the same or white women that have done the same, and go, do we treat them with exactly the same amount of cancel culture that we do with Jussie Smollett, or is it because he's a black gay man and we want to demonize and villainize him that we are essentially finding any excuse to be able to do so? Because since this whole story broke, from the very beginning, no one has been on his side. There has been so much crying out there has been so much crying out in terms of like how even when it first came out, he must be lying. This doesn't happen in America. MAGA doesn't do stuff like this. MAGA came out and said, we don't do stuff like this. And so, well, actually, they do in America.
I think that's not true. When he first got attacked.
I have receipts.
I don't think you do. Because I think I have receipts that are more than your receipts, right? Because we just went back to year 9 quickly. But here's the point. When he first came out and said that I was attacked, I saw a flurry of people posting pictures saying I stand with Jussie Smollett. I spoke 2 episodes ago about guys from Chicago, like the hard Bronx guy goes, I stand with Jussie Smollett too. Like everyone that was standing with Jussie Smollett, people, I thought he died. Everyone was posting pictures and saying he's a great human being and testifying to how wonderful he was. Yes, there might have been murmurings of people going, but is this true? Everything seems a bit too good to be true. But I think for the most part, most people, even like everybody was saying, oh, he's a great guy and this should never have happened to him. I think what you saw was a great move of solidarity. It just so happened to be fake. And I think when people started to look at the story a bit more closely is when the kind of